Hi there, it's Pete from Hermitage Road. What I'm going to talk about tonight is the Class 31, which was a Type 2 diesel. Now, it was designed in about 1955 and introduced in 1957. They weren't very successful at the start, mainly because the engines were underpowered. They had a Merlise engine in it, and they took the decision to change them completely for an English electric engine, which was far more successful and turned them from being a bit of a disaster to a really useful type. They were 3-axle locomotives, but the center axle didn't drive, so it was an A1A configuration rather than a Coco. Now, there have been several models over the years. The first one was probably the Triang one, and also the Triang TT one, which I still got one from my early modelling days. Now, they were about right for their time. Not too bad a model, but poor motors and a bit clunky on the detail. The next one that came in was really the Airfix one. The Airfix one was very heavy detailed on it. It was the right basic shape, and one thing it would do, and I had one in those days, they would pull a tremendous amount. I had over 30 carriages being pulled by one of those, and it didn't struggle at all. After that, they introduced the Lima version. Now, the Lima version was a much better effort. The basic shape was brilliant. Unfortunately, it didn't have metal handrails, but you could actually replace them and make your own, which I did. But the glaring problem with it was actually the lack of any cab detail. There was nothing in there. At one end, it had the ring-filled drive mechanism, and at the other end, there was nothing. I did manage to make my own cabs and put in there, which did improve it. But again, the running was about what you expect from a Lima model of those times. We then had to wait until Hornby introduced their super detail version in the early 2000s. This is one of them in the red striped rail freight livery. It looks very nice, and generally the model was pretty good. But over the years, there's been problems with it. One was the Mazak rot, which caused the chassis to actually break in half. And I've had 4 that have done that over the years, and the longer you keep them going, the more likely it is to happen. I haven't had it with these 3, and they seem to be okay. But also, they had a very screechy mechanism in there. I think they packed it with too much grease when they made them, and it ended up clogging up and going hard. I must try and dig them out, but it's a very difficult task to actually do. Fortunately, Bachmann have come to the rescue now, and they have introduced their new super detail version, and also the one with rotating fans and everything. Unfortunately, I can't afford that, but I have got the sound one, which I'm going to bring into view in a minute. This is a much better model, and fair play to Bachmann, they've done a really good job on it. Here we have the new Bachmann Class 31, and I'm really pleased with this. The sound file on it is fantastic. It actually has a Zimmo sound decoder on there. And they've done a really good job with the shape of it. As you can hear, the sound looks pretty good, although it's just hit a piece of dirty track there, but never mind. The Class 31 sometimes were used in pairs, particularly on trains to the West Country, where they used the ETH-fitted 31-4s. And on summer Saturdays, they used to run down to Plymouth from Birmingham, and they were a very good locomotive. Now, I think that the Bachmann one is a really good effort. It's got a good mechanism, and the detail on it is definitely better than on the Hornby ones. Here it is side by side with one of the Hornby ones, and you can see the differences. Although this is a weathered Hornby Class 31, and the Bachmann is in a quite bright sort of satin finish, which I'm not too happy about. I think I'm going to have to weather this a bit, because unless they just come out from a paint job, they're unlikely to be in this state. But they've done a fantastic job on it. It runs beautifully, and it is a very good performing loco. The only other snag I don't like is they haven't put a crew in this. They always used to put a crew in their locomotives, but the last few they don't seem to have bothered. It's strange, that. Now the 31s, although they would sometimes run with a coaching stock of 5 carriages, especially on interregional trains, they also were used on fuel tanker trains. Parcels was quite a bit, especially out of Old Oak Common at Paddington. Now, I've been studying some of the film available of 31s, and there's quite a lot of them being used for short trains, even only a couple of wagons. This is something I might do a video on in the future, short trains, because for a model railway layout, realistic length trains are very difficult. It's you know, a no-no unless you've got a massive layout. But I'll think about that. Right, that's going to conclude tonight's video, and I'd like to thank you all for subscribing. If you could like this video, share it, comment on it, always welcome comments. And good night and bye.